So this PowerPoint coincides with Chapter 15, Section 3, The Rise of Fascism. Know that fascism is a direct result of both the Great Depression as well as the hardships faced by a lot of European countries and Japan after World War I. So what is fascism? Fascism is a political movement that emphasizes loyalty to the state and obedience to its leaders. So what it really is it's a really extreme form of nationalism. There's an idea that nations must struggle and expand, and if you don't do that, that these peaceful states are going to be conquered. There's also this belief that the leader brings stability to the state. So we'll see with the rise of Hitler that he would not have had a chance of rising politically if it hadn't have been for the tragedy of the Great Depression and how that affected the German people. And the ideas of fascism, the state is above everybody else, the state is supreme, and everybody needs to follow the rules of the leader or the state. And it uses a very class-based system where everybody has their own place. This picture down here shows you a picture of Mussolini, who we'll talk about next. So Mussolini gains power in Italy, and some of the causes of this was, first off, a lot of disappointment from Italy after World War I. If you recall, Italy was originally part of the Triple Alliance with the Germans and the Austro-Hungarians, but they realized that that would probably be the losing side, so they switched early on in World War I and joined the Allies, the French, the British, the Russians, the Americans, with the hopes that they were going to gain a lot of territory when it was all said and done. After World War I, however, they did not gain the territories that they thought they were promised, so there was a lot of discontent about that. In addition, they had rising inflation and unemployment, not quite to the extent of Germany, but still the economic situation was not all that great. And then there was a severe lack of confidence in the democratic governments. And there was a pattern of this across most of Europe at the time, that these new states that were created after World War I, they weren't exposed to or experienced with democracy. And really what they wanted, most of the populace and the political system wanted a strong leader to kind of guide the state to prosperity. So Mussolini was known as Il Duce, and when he took over, he really wanted to kind of create a totalitarian state. He outlawed all other political parties. He did have an extreme form of secret police known as the Brown Shirts, who jailed and persecuted any kind of opponents. Severe censorship of the media. He outlawed any strikes. He kind of forced people to work, but in reality, this actually did help their economic system. But he was never as full of a totalitarian as either Hitler or Stalin. He wasn't quite as strong as either of those leaders, and you'll see that his lack of control really leads to a lot of Italy's problems during World War II. Hitler, on the other hand, had no problem gaining control once he did have control. So Hitler took over the Nazi Party shortly after World War I. Hitler was a soldier during World War I. He was a runner that would run through between the trenches, which was one of the most dangerous jobs there was during World War I. But the Nazi Party, was a small, it's called the German Workers' Party. It was a small political party at the beginning, and it's going to gain a lot of traction actually after the Great Depression. But some of the Nazi party goals, are to repeal the Treaty of Versailles. Remember, this is such a shameful treaty that the First Reich signed, or the Weimar Republic signed, excuse me. They also are vehemently against communism. They think communism is a scourge, even though there are some parallels between the Nazi Party when they come to power and Stalin's Soviet Union. And in addition to that, they said they wanted to look for regaining the territories that they lost during World War I. Now, if you remember back to our map exercises, Germany lost a significant amount of territory after the peace settlements. So in 1923, with the Nazi Party, Hitler actually attempts a coup d'etat where, with his military wing of his political party, he tries to take over the country. It is very unsuccessful, and Hitler is actually sent to jail. So this time in prison, this is when Hitler kind of comes up with a lot of his philosophies and ideologies that's going to rule Germany, during World War II until Hitler's death. So in his prison, he wrote a very famous book called Mein Kampf, which means My Struggle, where he really sets out his beliefs and aims for Germany, a greater Germany, a stronger Germany, a more united Germany. He also, lambasted the Treaty of Versailles. He also comes up with the idea of the master race, the Aryans, which was actually misconstrued, and he used the wrong term for Anglo-European people. Um, but also the idea that other groups of people are inferior. So Mein Kampf is kind of his handbook to what his ideology is going to be when he takes over. Um, so Hitler needs his Nazi party after he gets out of prison in 1924. As you can see, his sentence to prison was actually commuted, and the government let him out of prison. And once he gets out of prison in 1924, the Nazi Party starts a slow decline of slow rise of taking over the German political system. By 1932, the Nazi Party has become the largest political party in Germany. A lot of this has to do with the Great Depression, the fact that there was so much inflation, so much unemployment. Hitler really spoke out and said, we will bring our country back to prominence. We will make sure that the people that put us here suffer. And when there's a lot of poverty and a lot of strife, people want to listen to a really strong leader. So he was able to turn around the Nazi Party and really gain support throughout the entire German populace. In 1932, Hitler is elected chancellor. The government at the time actually put him in place thinking that they could control him, and they were very, very wrong of that. So once he is elected, he's actually elected as chancellor. He systematically turns Germany into a totalitarian state. He banned all other political parties. He created the SS, or the Schutzstaffel, which was a military force or a police force that was loyal only to the great leader, the Führer. And this SS really puts the German populace into total obedience. You can see a picture of some SS officers on the right-hand side there. In addition to that, the Nazis controlled the economy fully. They banned all strikes. They dissolved any labor unions. They pretty much forced people to work, but in reality, it was a good thing for the German economy as it rebounded very quickly. It decreased unemployment. He increased infrastructure projects and things like that. And in addition, he started breaking the Versailles Treaty and remilitarizing the country. And so a lot of young men specifically turned to the military where they could be paid a decent salary. So by the mid 1930s, he really has a strong hand in all things that are German. He turns the media into propaganda tools, both radio, propaganda posters. The swastika becomes a symbol of everything Nazi Germany. In addition, he starts burning books that go against his beliefs and his ideas, and this, for a lot of people, this is very controversial, but some people really, really enjoyed that. School children were actually forced to join something called the Hitler Youth and the Hitler League of German Girls. These groups promoted competition. It was a military-style summer camps and athletic competitions and things like that to really build up this militaristic might that's going to be coming in the late 1930s. In addition to that, the Nazis really portray the Jews as the cause of the problem since World War I. They also blamed the Jews for the loss of World War I. They change textbooks and things like that to really enforce that indoctrination that the Jews are their problem. And in 1933, they pass laws limiting Jewish rights, and that's going to get more and more extreme as we get closer to World War II. So that's just an introduction to the rise of fascism. Please make sure you do read or scan the textbook to get anything that I missed, and we'll talk more about this in class.